Good afternoon, everyone. This is Marcus Norman and Miss Crystal Family Esquire on Gentleman Style Podcast, your host of the number one podcast coming to you live in America. And today we have the incredible, the amazing, the fantabulous, the beautiful, God-fearing woman that you see before you today. And she spared no expense, and she made time in her busy schedule, her busy life, dealing with family, loved ones, and just growing as spiritually and in business. And today she's about to blow our mind. She blew my mind when I found her. And it just absolutely impactful, a dynamic woman, speaker, world renowned, and legal practice. And she's going to tell you about that legal practice here shortly. I'm not going to spill too much tea here, but just incredible. And I want to introduce you all. Thank you, Miss Christian. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for spending time with us. Thank you so much. Please introduce, if I missed anything, please introduce yourself and tell my audience a little about you.
All right. Well, thanks so much for having me on the show. It means a lot. Like, I love just getting an opportunity to talk with new people, introduce myself to new audiences. As you stated, I am Christian Family Esquire, and Christian Family really is my name. I know we'll get a chance to go into that. I am a twice divorced adult child of divorce, mother of three. Interesting about my story is that both of my parents live with me, and they've been divorced for 36 years from each other. It's like a real live episode of Blackish around here all day, every day. Right? I'm recently transitioning my life. Right. Thanks. I think that's hilarious. I am recently transitioning my life from being a divorce lawyer, which I've done for nearly 20 years. I owned a law practice for 15 of those years, to kind of pivoting to more of what I would call a divorce coach or trainer. And I'm sure we'll get a chance to talk about that too.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again. That's absolutely incredible. And what's powerful about you is you wear it with such grace, with such dignity, with such pride, and you most people, divorce is such a dynamic, a impactful thing, and it can be traumatic and even paralyzing in some instances. But you are here to change that mindset. You are here to blow that box right out of the water. And so we're gonna just dive in. We're gonna dive into those questions, but you're in for a treat. So my very first question, I think I've been boasting you up all week, and so it was unique for me because your name is Christian Family. Like, is that really you? Really, your name is Christian Family. Explain how that happened. What made you transition from that?
Listen, hands down, one of my favorite stories, and I have a lot of stories. Okay, so this story starts back in May of 2018, right? I was at a workshop called How to Start a Second Law Firm. Because at the time I was still married and I was considering having my law firm and then maybe also a title company, because my husband and I kept threatening to get into real estate together. So on the way to that workshop, I fired my associate because I couldn't help but notice she wasn't pulling her weight. Like every time you hire somebody new, you should be making more money. I was hiring people, but I wasn't making more money. Like, what's going on? So I fired her. When I get to the workshop, my paralegal quit. Like via email. Hey, my dad's sick in Florida. I'm leaving. I'm never coming back. Thanks. Right.
Ouch.
So,
ouch.
Right. Jeez. So at that point, the guy who's running the workshop, got a gentleman named Arjan from this How to Manage a Small Law Firm group I was a part of. He says, well, clearly you're not in a position to open a second law firm because your first law firm isn't working. Maybe you should burn it to the ground and start over, build something new. And he goes, and what's this? Yeah, he did. He's a tough talking guy, but he also helped me grow my revenues like 400% in 5 years, so I'm not that mad at him. So he says, and what's with this Manning Law Company? Aren't you like Christian divorce or Christian family law? I said, as a matter of fact, I am Christian family law. But in Ohio, we don't allow trade names on law firms. The only way my law firm could be named Christian Family Law is if my name were actually Christian Family. So it started as kind of a joke, right? Like we were tossing it around in the workshop, and we made me a little name tag that said Christian family. But then I started thinking about it. Why not? Right? People change their name, right? Meta world peace. People do it, right? So I'm going to do it. So I fill out the application right when I get back home for the name change. And here's where God stepped in. So the name change hearing was scheduled for August the 2nd, 2018. It just so happened that in the prior February, I had signed up for this emotional intelligence leadership training, which was the weekend of August 3rd, 4th, and the 5th. August the 5th was my birthday, which is the reason I had chosen that weekend for the workshop. Okay.
Right.
And it's pretty cool because you spend the whole weekend with the name tag on, and it always gives you the option for a nickname. And so I put in Christian. I'm like, talk about by immersion, right? Learning your name. So here we go. What I didn't know was going to happen was that on August the 1st, my husband would black my eye.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So, right. So I go into the name change hearing with a black eye. I go into the emotional intelligence leadership training with a black eye. Now, the reason I had signed up for the leadership training is because while my business was growing, it wasn't growing as fast as I thought it should, especially given I had such a particular niche, right? Saying that Christians don't have to stay in bad marriages. You know, you don't have to be trapped there. Throughout the workshop, there's a sign on the wall that says, "What are you pretending not to know?" Me standing there with my black eye, I was pretending not to know that I was an abused woman in an abusive marriage. That the reason my business wasn't growing is because my message didn't line up with my life. I was a Christian woman who felt trapped in an unhealthy marriage. And so as much as the name change was for the law firm and kind of tug in cheek at the beginning, it really opened up the door to me walking into a whole new life, you know, and like really stepping into my purpose. And so here I am, Christian family.
Esquire. Wow. Where do I start? Oh my gosh. That's terrible. That's horrible. And still you stand here today, strong as ever, smiling and in the new you. And this is why I had to have you on the show, because you're the example. Because how many people are sitting there suffering? How many people are staying in relationships that aren't for them and ignoring that sign, that obvious reason? Hey, it's not your business isn't growing. It's not you're living the life out, and you're not walking in that destiny that is pertaining for you. And so you said you shut down your practice. So you were practicing law for how long before you shut it down? And why did you shut it down?
Right. So I've been practicing for 15 years, like on my own. You know, apparently I don't really know how to get a job, right? So 15 years I've had my own law firm. The last 5 years I've been on really a steady growth, right? Like a pretty solid growth structure, hiring more people, making more money, you know, it seemed cool. And after the name change, and I had the chance to do my TED Talk. I did a TED Talk in November of 2019.
Yay!
Yeah, right. Real talk about divorce. TEDx Columbus talk, if I do say so myself. When I was on that stage, thank you, and remembered that this is really what I'm supposed to be doing, is changing the way the world looks at and interprets and understands divorce. That in this law practice, I'm actually being limited. I was very limited in just being a lawyer. I could only help people one at a time. I can only help people in the limited area of Ohio that I'm willing to drive to. I can only help people with the legal aspect of divorce. And I know for a fact that that's like 1/5, maybe 1/6 of the conversation is the legal part of the divorce. And so in a decision to kind of just take the shackles off of myself and really unfetter myself so that I could chase my dream, I had to shut the whole thing down because, right, it's like in the Bible when I think it's Elijah was being called, right? Like Elijah was saying Elisha was going to be like, you know, you're going to be my follow-up guy, right? And he was out in the field and he was plowing, right? Mm-hmm. And when Elijah calls him, he went back, right? He goes with him, but he turns back. He kills the oxen. He destroys the plow. He sets it on fire. I'm never going back to that. And that's how I feel about that law firm, right? It's the way I know how to make money. As long as it's there, I'll keep stepping my foot in that, right? No mas, no mas.
You had to burn the bridge. You had to burn your bridges to go all in.
Yep.
That's very powerful. Vikings did the same thing. Whenever Vikings traveled, they had to and they traveled by sea. Whenever they came to a new land, they would burn the ship.
That's right.
And burning the ship signifies not only the point of no return, but also signifies like we are going to make this work where we are. Here we are, no matter what. And so you're on it. You're on fire. Yeah. And you went all in. And there are how many people are not going all in their destiny, in their dreams, because they have that comfort. They're tippy-toeing, right? They're putting one foot in the water and not just diving in and going for what they want. You see, y'all, this is why I had to have her on the show. See, this is nuggets. This is trickles, because I think all of us at some point in our lives are doing what Miss Christian family has now shared with us. And so what are some of the biggest problems that you've seen occurring in marriage today leading to divorce? And what are some of the things that you've seen in your practice and now outside of that practice in relationships?
Ooh, okay. So this is juicy. There's a few parts to it. Let's start with this one first, so that people understand. In my understanding of divorce, right? Divorce itself is a result. It's a result of hardened hearts. That's what makes the divorce happen. Okay. And people's hearts get hard against their spouse for a number of different reasons. Sometimes somebody's looking outside the marriage for something they should be looking inside the marriage for, right? Sometimes this happens and that person is repentant, but the other person is unforgiving. That can cause a hardening of a heart, right? True. Sometimes the heart is hardened because it's protecting itself from abuse. Sometimes the heart is hard, and this is the most common one, because there was some kind of irritant that never got dealt with, some kind of resentment that built up, and then caused a callus on the heart. And then that's the thing that happened. So, yeah. And those can be all kind of stuff. Anytime you're not sharing with your spouse really what you need and what you want and how you feel about things, you're being dishonest. And dishonesty is the crack in the foundation of a relationship. In anything that you're building, if there's a crack in the foundation, it's eventually going to fail.
And you're talking about the dishonesty, not necessarily between your spouse and you, but the dishonesty with yourself also too. You're also sharing the dishonesty about, just like you said in your earlier real life testimony, you were being dishonest with yourself. Mm-hmm. What lie are you living? Yes. What truth are you not living in? And so this is gold. This is gold, and this is the information that needs to get out, and this is what needs to get out. And so there's a large bill. The media plays a big factor in this. There's a negative stigma about divorce, the thoughts around divorce, and I think that plays a part in why people stay in marriages, they stay in relationships that they should have walked away from a long time. Help us change that stigma. Help us see it from a different light. Why is there such a negative stigma around the thoughts and process of divorce? And help us look at it a different way.
Yeah. The best way that I can tell you is to take you on a little journey of me and how I got to that place. So I've been a divorce lawyer, as we noted, for a really long time. I was a divorce lawyer before I was ever married the first time. And then the only experience personally I had with divorce was the fact that my parents were divorced, right, when I was 7. And so the only thing I knew about divorce is that I never wanted to do it. That's the whole thing I knew about. And that's the thing most people know about divorce is you don't want to do that. You want to avoid it at all costs. If you're getting divorced, somehow you're a failure at marriage. You didn't try hard enough. All of these negative things, right? People end up paralyzed, like you said. So that was my position on divorce. Even helping people, and I'm not proud of this, get divorced, there was still a little bit of judgment on my part about, well, you married the wrong person, or you should have tried harder, or these kind of things. You know, I mean, I help people, but in my mind, I knew I would never be divorced. That was, of course, until shortly before
Mm.
my third anniversary, when my then husband said to me, I don't love you the way a husband should love a wife. I don't know if I want to be married to you anymore.
What?
Dude, talk about some hurtful
What?
type shit. Yes, it's like on TV, you know, where they see you laying on the ground and your friends have to come and pick you up off the ground. You know what I mean? Like lay you in
Right.
bed. Like, yeah, it was hard. It was hard. It's a thing to this day that I call shattering into reality. But it was in that moment that I realized, because I ended up being divorced or in a position where I needed to be divorced, didn't mean I'd done anything wrong.
It's true.
I worked really hard to be a good wife. I was a good wife. You know what I mean? Like, I cooked, and, you know, when I could, you travel for work. I tried to keep it sexy. I prayed. I didn't nag, you know, all the things that I would assume would make the marriage work. And so it didn't
Mm.
matter how much I didn't want to be divorced. It didn't matter how much I thought I was doing everything right. I still found myself in a place where divorce had happened to me, right? I found myself getting divorced. And so,
Even though you did everything right,
even though I
it
did everything right,
still happened.
still happens, right? And this is actually a lot of people's story. And so, how would it be fair to me to now be paralyzed and feel like I can't perform in ministry? I can't find the love of my life, that I'm disqualified from all these things when I didn't really do anything wrong.
True.
And so that was the beginning of looking at divorce differently. So is this really a punishment? You know, like, what's really happening here? So part of the story that I share, and I don't always share, is that my first husband actually left me for his boyfriend.
Oh my. Oh my God.
I know.
What?
I know.
No, undercover brother.
Listen, talk about what I was pretending not to know. You know what I mean? Like, anything in hindsight is real, like 2020, real crystal clear.
Right.
But I was so desperate to not be divorced that I put up with all kinds of rejection, which was really what was happening in that relationship. If you can imagine, he wasn't really into me like that.
Right. Right.
But I was
Right.
so desperate to not be divorced, to not have that stigma, that I was willing to pass up on having an intimate marriage, an intimate relationship like that, that kind of relationship inside with my husband, just because I didn't want to be divorced. And that's not right. That's not what God would have for me. You know, so why am I choosing that for myself? Because I so much don't want to be divorced. And so what I learned with the second divorce, same kind of idea, is that I'm focused on the wrong thing, which is what the thing is with most people with divorce. I'm focused on what I don't want. I don't want to be divorced. I don't want to be stigmatized. I don't want to be a single mother. I don't want to answer people questions. I don't want to seem like a fraud. I don't, all these things I don't want. I don't want to lose, because that's what you feel like is going to happen when you go into a divorce. People feel like they're going to lose everything. I'm going to lose access to my kids. That's the big thing that makes men stay. In my experience, most men stay for the kids. They're afraid if they get a divorce or if they leave, she's going to then keep the kids away from them. So now I'm going to lose my kids. I'm going to lose access to my kids. I'm going to lose my financial standing, right? Because I'm going to have to spend this money, all of this. So it's just lose, 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 lose. But really, a divorce is an opportunity to create something new. To choose divorce is to choose what I want and not what I don't want. In that situation, in that first marriage, I never would have had kids in the family, which is what I wanted. But that wasn't going to happen there. He was not going to have children with me. And that's something I wanted. What I did want is a family. I couldn't have that in that marriage. So a divorce, in that sense, gave me an opportunity to have a marriage and a family, which is what I wanted. In the second marriage, I got a family, right? I got 3 kids. Like, I just got into it. Like, I have babies now. And inside of the marriage, I have peace of mind, which became the most important thing to me. I wanted to have peace of mind. I wanted to be able to be present with my children. to really have joy and not be stressed out and walking on eggshells all the time. What I wanted was more important than what I didn't want. And when I made that realization, divorce is no longer something that I want to avoid. It's really
Mm,
the way that I get to what I want.
mm. So, correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like you, me, us, we compromise our own desires for the sake and the sacrifice of the marriage.
Yes.
We put our feelings, our desires, our emotions to the back burner for the
Mhm.
sake of this thing, this construct that if it occurs to me, I'm a failure. I have
Right.
failed. I have
Yep.
lost the battle. I'm not God doesn't love me. God doesn't frowns upon divorce, and so I have to do everything in my power to not get divorced. When in actuality, it's a blessing from God. God smiles on marriage. And so this thing that is ordained by God should advance you. It should be what you want, and it should be something desirable and pleasurable.
Yes.
And when we change that mindset, which you did, which is what
Mm-hmm.
you're sharing now, it,
Mm-hmm.
doors open, opportunities open. Is
Yes,
that
let me
what I'm
jump on
hearing?
this. Exactly right. And I just wanted to clarify this point because it's exactly what I'm saying. In my experience, healthy, God honoring marriages don't end in divorce. They
Mm,
don't.
true,
I've
true,
never met a healthy marriage, right? And
true.
so sometimes people are afraid to say that divorce is okay because, oh, now you're going to just encourage in divorce. That's stupid. People that are happily married don't want to be divorced. That's not
True.
what they want. That's not what they're thinking about. And to further put a little point on it, a real marriage I consider to be a diamond, a diamond.
Mm-hmm.
And
Diamond.
sometimes
Okay.
a diamond has a flaw in it or a diamond is a little dirty. You don't just throw the whole diamond out. You know what I'm saying? Because it's got a little flaw in it because it's a little dirty. It's a diamond,
True.
right? And a real marriage,
True.
sometimes it'll get cloudy. Sometimes it needs to get clean. Sometimes it needs these things. You know what I mean? Maybe a little chip came off. It's still a diamond. It's still extremely valuable.
True.
Work on your marriage if what you have is a diamond. But if what you have really is a piece of glass and you're trying to treat it like a diamond, that's silly.
Mm.
That's
Say that
silly.
again. Mm.
Mhm.
Mm. See, we are being silly, y'all. You heard it here from the lady herself. The value, your value, our value is not changed just because you are blemished, right? You're not a
Right.
failure. You are still worthy. You are still worthy. You are still precious. You're still incredible. But we hold that scuff, that bump in the road over our heads, and we beat ourselves much further than even unimaginable. And we take ourselves to really, that self-talk is powerful. That self-talk that we have with ourselves is powerful. And it's not being done to us, we're doing it to ourselves. And you are changing that just right here, just right now. You are changing that mindset. Thank you, Betty. Betty is my best friend. She is just eating this up, and I love it.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Betty.
Betty. I appreciate you. And so, one of the things I know this to be true. I've seen it happen. I've seen it live where co-parenting, no one wants to look forward to the outcome of co-parenting in
Mhm.
divorce. I know a friend of mine, she stays married. Unfortunately, she stays married. She cheats on her husband.
Mhm.
But and I asked her, I said, why stay? You're not happy anymore. He's not making you happy. He's not trying. You're not trying to work on the marriage. Why stay? And she said because she doesn't want to be a single mom. She doesn't want to she doesn't want to lose the convenience of if having that person there when the kids are home to do homework.
Mhm.
She can say, hey, it's your night to do homework with the kids. I'm gonna go rest, or I'm gonna go do this thing. She doesn't want to lose that. And that, to me, it hit me. It hit me. You would rather cheat and continue to commit adultery and maintain the illusion of the marriage, because you don't want the stigma. You don't want to have to go pick up the kids from school or go to every PTA meeting and everyone in the room is with their husband and wives and you're sitting there like, no one wants that.
No.
How do we change the mindset around co-parenting? How do we make it work better
Oh,
in divorce?
oh, so look, I have this workshop that I need to be putting on virtually that's called Co-Parenting Tools to Make It
Ha
Work. So
ha!
to
I
clarify, that
got it.
really is an entire episode in itself. And I'll hit you with these couple of nuggets, right? Again, always from my own story, because though I do have hundreds of stories, I usually feel the most comfortable sharing my own, except for when it comes to co-parenting. So let me tell you this story and then I'll tell you the rest of it, right? So I had a lady client. I loved her so much. She's getting divorced
Yes.
from her husband. They had 2 daughters at the time that were 10 years old, twins. And a lot of times when you hear about fathers having their weekend visitation, it's every other weekend, Friday to Sunday, sometimes Friday to Monday. That's kind of the traditional, what you think about with the visiting dad. This dad never took 2 overnights in a row. He'd always just take 1 overnight, right?
Whack,
But
whack.
I want to say he took the girls. I want to say in his defense, I believe he took them every Friday, but it was never like a Friday and a Saturday, right? It would just be a Friday. And she was fussing about the fact that, number one, he would never take 2 nights in a row. And second, that without fail, sometime before it was time for his time to be up, one of the daughters would call her and say, "We're hungry." And daddy is too.
Are you kidding me?
No.
What?
And so she was like, "This is outrageous," And I said to her, no. He gets them every single Friday. Has there ever been a Friday when you got a call from the school or from Children's Services saying their daddy didn't show up to get them? No.
Right?
He always got them. He always got them. And if you don't provide the meal when your daughter calls you, do you know who's the asshole? Not the daddy. You are, because they
Mama.
trusted you enough. They felt like you had the means and the opportunity to provide the meal, and you just chose not to. So the number one rule there is if somebody has to be the asshole, let it be the other parent, not you. They teach you that in law school, right? If somebody has to go to jail, let it be the client, not you, right? Somebody has to be the asshole, let it be the other parent, not you. And so the advice there is pack those kids with some SpaghettiOs, put $10 in their bag for a pizza. You know that the daddy don't have no food over there.
It's true.
You know that's true.
You know he trifling.
Right. You know he trifling. Right? That's their daddy.
Right.
That's still their daddy, And so that's just a thing, and it's a mindset. I also was very slow to let the second husband go because he did most of the cooking. I promise you, if he hadn't taught those kids dental hygiene, they might all their teeth would be out. You know what I mean? Like, he was a good dad.
So he was a good cook. He was a good cook. Okay.
He was good with brushing the teeth. He did a lot of things to take care of those kids in ways that I felt like I would be crippled without him. I didn't think I was capable of handling 3 kids on my own because he did so much. And then when he was gone, not realizing how much of my energy he was sucking, when he was gone, I was energized. I was a different person. I had all kind of new energy. Like, right, I'm up, I'm making breakfast. I done learned how to make pancakes. I'm doing all kind of stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. For at least about the first 2 months he was gone, dinner caught me off guard every day. Shit, man. Like,
I do have kids. Oh my gosh, I'm supposed to feed y'all.
Because they want to eat every day. You can't be like you had dinner yesterday. They always want to eat again. You know what I mean? So there is a step that has to be adjusted to. That's the truth. Divorce is just trading one set of problems for another set of problems. But I like this set of problems better. 2 other things I want to tell you about co-parenting, because this one I think is kind of funny. All the advice that I have ever given to people about co-parenting happened because I wasn't actually doing it. Does this make sense? Like I was giving this co-parenting advice based off of me being a child of divorced parents and recognizing how well my parents co-parented, right? Which I think is evidenced by the fact that they're able to both live in the same house now
Right.
36 years after having been divorced.
Wow.
My
Wow.
mother always says, exactly, right? And my mother says there's no animosity with her against my dad because he was a good father. There's no reason for her to have any alt with him. There was never, same kind of, there was never a time when I needed my daddy and he wasn't there. You know, like this never happened. And so she knows he was a good dad. And my dad at the same front, like he says, he never had a problem paying child support. He knew my mother was taking good care of me. There was no animosity there. She never kept me away. It wasn't that kind of thing. And so I know that that's possible. And so that's the way I was always teaching it. You know, I would tell this story that when I was, I don't know, 6 or 7, 7 or 8, whatever, my grandmother would come pick me up from my dad's house after his weekend. And she says I would be stinking and sticky, you know, like clearly nobody had bathed me and I had just been eating junk for days, you know, and I would be so happy. And she would say, well, what'd you do with your daddy? What'd you eat? And I said, we ate cheese and hot peppers.
Huh.
And she could have said, you know what? Until your father can figure out how to feed you nutritiously, until your father can figure out how to make sure you have some hygiene and all of these kind of things, we're not going to keep sending you over there because we don't trust him and how he's parenting you. That could have happened. There's a lot of moms out there. That's the concern.
Right.
I don't want you to go to your daddy. Daddy ain't going to do it.
Cut him off. Cut him off. End it. He can't see you anymore.
Nonsense. They sent me. And so I know that's okay. And then this thing happened. My baby daddy, ex-husband, father of my children, showed up at my house a couple of months ago with alcohol on his breath to come pick up the kids.
Oh no.
Okay. So now a decision has to be made. Do I refuse to let the kids go with their dad? I know this is going to cause a scene. I ain't just met him. The kids are expecting their dad. Now they're going to be in breakdown. And do recall who's going to be the asshole. Mom. If I don't let it go, it's going to be me, Mom. Not him. Right? So that's option number 1. Option number 2 is to let them go and trust that their father loves them and cares about them as much as I do. And to know for a fact that as a mother, I'm never doing the wrong thing and letting the kids go with their dad and trusting him to take care of them. And as crazy as it was, and it's still true, if he kills those kids on his watch, God forbid, that's really on him. It's not me. I trusted their daddy with them. I don't think it's the wrong thing to do. And so it was a hard call and they ended up being safe and everybody lived and they keep coming back, you know. But that's, you know, it's controversial, but that's my position.
You and I know you know this. That is completely 180 from what the normal parent would do, right? A normal parent say, "Oh, shut it down," like you said, shut it down. No more visitation till your dad gets together. No more, cut it off. But you're surrounded by divorce, and you're surrounded by variations of it, experiencing it yourself and seeing it within your parents' home and seeing different avenues, and then also practicing it and seeing it in other households for over 20 years, 20 plus years. So you're seeing a multitude of divorce, co-parenting, and so that's a huge mindset shift. To trust, to have faith in yourself and your ability to have parents. I've done all I can do, and now you're saying I trust what I've done, and I trust in God that these kids will return home safely. But I'm not going to shut the door and not allow him access to be the parent in his life. And if the kids go hungry, guess who didn't feed them? It's not mom. They know they're going to eat when they come home.
Exactly.
It's dad. Let him be who he's supposed to be and let the kids make up their own minds.
Yes. Exactly.
Let the kids decide for themselves. That's
Mhm.
huge. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's contrary to what I would do. I would say, nope, can't see them. You got alcohol in your breath. Go wash it up. I didn't know where you were gonna go with that. To be honest, I had
Mhm.
no. Wow. I hope my audience is getting this, and I hope you all. And this is not to say you are doing anything wrong. Just like
Right.
Miss Christian Family said, you are beautifully and wonderfully made, and you can never make the wrong decision, especially if you're a first time mom. Right? If
Right.
you're being a parent first time, there is nothing wrong. You are learning and growing, and there's nothing you can do that will make this wrong. How do your clients know that they should go down the avenue of divorce?
Ooh.
What are some telltale signs that
Mhm.
it's time to walk away? It's time to do what's right, and it's time to do what's right for me and my family. And
Oh
even
my
if that
God.
means separating from this relationship.
Ooh, also juicy. The advice that I would give, especially to people of faith, is of course to pray about it, but not
Yes.
pray about whether or not I should get a divorce. No, no. And not pray that the other spouse would change their ways so that this marriage will work out, because those are also fairly common things. You pray for your spouse like they are the most important person in the world. You pray for them to develop and to grow and to be who God wants them to be. You pray for them to be committed to the marriage and to be committed to you. And you pray that you'll be the kind of spouse that that person needs. I mean, you go for it. And I guarantee you, only one or two things will happen.
What's
Either your
that?
marriage will get better or that person will leave. I promise. I
One of the
promise.
two is going to happen.
One of those two things is going to happen, because the spouse who isn't going to listen to God's nudging, right? Because in my Christian faith, that's how it goes, right? God says, hey, listen, here's your chance to be a better character. Hey, here's your chance to do things better. Hey, here's your chance to let me in and let me lead. And then you have the opportunity to respond, yay or nay, right? And if you respond yay, then that's what's up, right? Now my marriage is on the right track. If you respond nay, right, that's that hardening of the heart, right?
Mm,
Now your heart is becoming hard. So you, as the spouse, does this make sense, right? You
right.
forcing issue. Either they're
Right.
gonna get right or they're gonna get gone.
Right.
And then So that's one, especially for people who are toying with it. They don't know if it's the right thing to do. They don't know if that's what they want to do. So that's a big one. And then the other thing is sometimes that you've done all you can. You have
True.
done everything in your power, and the
True.
other person does not want to be different. They refuse to be different. They won't do anything different. And you know that the things that you want, I know it is hard. And you know that the things that you want inside
It
of
is.
your life, you can't have inside of that marriage. So yeah, it's hard. And the last bit of advice is I suggest to anybody who's thinking about divorce, because I say nobody should ever be thinking about divorce. You should
Right.
either be working on your marriage or actively getting divorced. There's no reason to be thinking about it. That's silly, right? Either you're doing it or you're not doing it, right? There is no try. So
Right.
if divorce is the answer, make a move. You know what I mean? And make a move does not, listen to me, does not mean go hire a lawyer and file some papers. That's not what that means. Make a move means separate physically. If that means taking yourself and your kids and moving to your mama's house, if it means getting another apartment, what it means to separate physically. And I'll tell you, this is important for 1,000,000,000 reasons. But the main one, isn't that what divorce means, though? Is that I don't want to live with you anymore? Isn't that what divorce means? When
That's
I
what I
wake up,
thought it meant.
I don't want to see you. When I lay down at night, I don't want you to be there. Isn't that really what it's
Right.
about? Right? Then, if you really want a divorce, get your own place. Get your own place. I tell people, if you think, oh, I can't afford that. If you can't afford to live alone, then work on your marriage.
Mm,
I mean, what else? Because
mm,
right, divorce means I don't want to live with you.
right.
Also, separating from the spouse in some situations, not all, really gives the parties an opportunity to heal. A decent amount of couples reconcile after a separation.
That's true.
A lot of people do. No, Kimberly, don't file them papers yet. Wait. So you want to live separate and apart as much as possible, up to 6 months. And that's with caveats, but because that also lets you get your head space right. Because if you've ever lived in a house with somebody with toxic energy, with bad energy, right? Like, you just kind of, give yourself a chance to relax so you can actually think straight. So you can think straight and make wise decisions. That's why you don't want to go hiring a lawyer, spending money right away. You ain't even thinking right. Relax.
Emotions.
Right?
Emotions.
It gives you an opportunity to see what it will be like to co-parent from 2 homes. I mean, what does that really look like when I moved out with the kids? Does he come see him? Does she act funny and not let me see him? You know what I mean? Like, what happens? How does this feel? Is this the kind of relationship where 1 week with dad and 1 week with mom makes the most sense? We automatically fell into that. Do that, right? Just see what happens. Also lets you start to establish 2 separate financial identities, because what people are scared about with the finances of divorce is, how is this going to work? Because now the same amount of money that used to take care of one household now has to take care of 2. It's still the same amount of money, but it now has to take care of 2 households. What does that look like?
True.
What does that feel like? So do it for a little while. There you go.
Tight. when oh my gosh, my mind is flooded, y'all. My mind is flooded because this woman is she's changing a dynamic, right? She is contradicting, in a good way, years of mindset. She's changing the mindset. She is what the world needs. She is a innovator. She can create and she can broaden people's horizons. This is what the world needs: more people like her, more women, more individuals like her, changing the world. That's a true world changer. And she is fighting years of mindset shift. And it takes time. It takes time to build a habit. So it's also going to take time to break that habit. And she's helping us here today. Please, y'all, my little plug for the evening, please like, share, and subscribe. We are on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and most major platforms that you can find us on. And I pray that this will not be the last time, as Miss Christian Family will be a guest on our show. She as she gets that website and as she grows and as she continues to impact, she will continue to inspire and influence. And I hope I can get her back onto the show. Please heart, like, share if you agree to get her back on the show, because we need this. We need this. I have to ask, what are some things, if now I've taken the time to reflect, I've taken that time apart, I've seen how the money looks, I've seen how the co-parenting looks, and I still decide to move forward, and now I'm considering pursuing a lawyer. What things should I look for when looking for a lawyer, or looking for you when I want to connect? What questions should I ask, or what should I experience when I seek out that first lawyer to help me go through the process?
Perfect. The most important thing when you're getting a lawyer is you want someone who specializes. You want someone who handles family matters, someone who does divorce. A lot of times a lawyer will have 1 or 2 practice areas. So maybe I do divorce and personal injury. That's okay. But if really I do business law, contracts, personal injury, criminal, oh yeah, and I'll do a divorce. Not that person. Not that
All
person.
of the above.
Right. You want someone who actually does divorce. So that's the number 1 first thing that you want. Second, you want someone who you really have chemistry with, because divorce is a very private and personal thing you're going through. And if who you are and what you feel in your heart is that you're on a mission for kind of scorched earth, you know what I mean? I want to take the other person for everything they have. Then you don't want a lawyer that's going to be like, hey, listen, let's work this out. Let's try to mediate, right? Let's try to come up with an agreement, because that's not the lawyer for you. It's true. If what you want is to make this thing be kind of amicable and fair, right? Then you don't want the person that's going, you gotta attack first. You gotta get her before she gets you. You don't want them either. You know what I mean? Like you
Right,
gotta,
right.
and all of those are,
Cutthroat.
and not to say that one is right or wrong, but you gotta get the person, you know what I'm saying, whose vibe is on the same line as your vibe. So those are really the two main things. Somebody that specializes in divorce and somebody whose vibe is with yours. If when you go to see them, even if you paid $300 for a consultation, which is about the going rate,
Right.
if you don't feel the chemistry, don't do it. Because divorces cost people. I mean, the average divorce is like $7,500. Easily 10,000, tens of thousands of dollars, right? And 7,500, I always say, is just the average. A lot of people get by for like 2,500. Not that that's pennies, but it's less than 7,500. You know what I mean? And then there are plenty of them that go to run for 15,000, 20,000. So my suggestion to people is, right, the reason divorces cost so much is not because people want to stay married. Well, usually one of the person will stay married, but that's an aside. It's because they're fighting over what to do with the money and the stuff.
It's true.
That's the issue. Okay. Now, if you have taken the time to be separate from this other person for a while, there's a decent chance that most of the stuff has now been separated. There's nothing, you can't fight about that then, right? Because I mean that when you move out, look, this is free advice. If you're the person that's thinking about moving, take what you can on that first trip. Because anything you don't get, pretend like it don't exist no more. You pretend like it went down in a house fire. Because what you don't do is pay an additional $2,500 to fight over a damn couch that's been in the basement for 3 years because you want that couch. People
it's
do
the family couch.
It's the family couch. You know what I'm saying? We got memories on that couch. I mean, people do it, right? And the issue isn't the couch. The issue is the memory. The issue is hurting the other person. You're right. The issue is all these other things. But how it plays out is I'm going to spend thousands of dollars to fight for this couch.
So right.
Yeah.
Don't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense, but it happens all the time. All the time. That's why in a divorce, the only person that really gets rich, the only person that really wins is the lawyer. Yes. Yes. $7,500. Yes.
Jeez, Louise. Y'all heard it, right? So I love that because a lot of people don't know that, and they get excited about marriage and they never consider the aftermath of it. And so I think that is a huge statement, not just for its impact, but also really know who you're connecting with, right? Really take the time to get to know who you're saying you're going to spend your rest of your life with. Because if you don't, there's a cost, right? There's a cost to ending that marriage, ending that relationship. There's a cost to it. And that's why Miss Christian Family Esquire is helping us understand that we need to let stuff go sometimes. Sometimes we hold on to things a lot longer than necessary. We hold on to things that we don't even want. We don't even need anymore. I remember a young lady, young man, they were going through a divorce, and the gentleman had a hobby of building boats. He had the hobby of building those miniature boats in glass bottles, and she fought tooth and nail to take the glass boat. She wanted it. She had to have it. And she took his glass boat, and then at the end of the divorce, when she finally got this glass boat, they asked her what she's going to do with it, and she threw it away.
Exactly.
Fight so hard for it? Why'd you fight tooth and nail? Why'd you prolong this expensive? Because your lawyer is getting paid while you're fighting over a glass jar. They're getting paid. She's getting paid to fight over it. So let it go. Let it go. What is a husband?
A husband is somebody that was my husband.
I'm sorry. That's caveat. I had to ask. Like I said, Miss Christian Family, she's very well known and well known in the industry as her expertise. And I heard her say that on a previous show, and I had to get it out again because she said it. How how does emotions play into thoughts around divorce? And you said this earlier, but why I'm focusing on thoughts for a very specific reason,
Mhm.
because that's what keeps us in the game. It's our mindset. It's our um which one plays heavier on our thoughts? The financial, in your experience, the financial burden or the disconnect burden and the physical burden? I don't have anyone to hold me at night. I don't have anyone to play with the kids. That emotions. Which one have you seen play a bigger aspect in divorce, and people, why one of the reasons why people stay together?
It's good. A lot of times it kind of depends if it's a marriage with children or without children. Marriages with children, I find that the financial thing really seems to take precedence. Where in a
Okay.
relationship without kids, it's the being alone is the bigger thing. And
Yeah.
so they're both pretty high up. In my experience, when people are thinking about divorce, right, which I always say you shouldn't be doing, their
Right.
emotions are always all tied up in it, and they're either fantasizing or fatalizing. Fantasizing. These people are thinking, oh yeah, when I get this divorce, magically all my problems are going to go away, right? I won't
Mm,
have her nagging at me. I won't have to do this. Just like, like magically, like the divorce is the answer. You know what I mean? And just fantasizing about how good it's going to be, and it ain't going to be like this, and I can do what I
wow.
want, see who I want, just spend my money how I want, right? Right, just fantasizing about this divorce is going to be this thing. Um, which also isn't true, right? Like your emotions are into that, you know what I mean? And you're so busy being mad at your present. Does this make sense that you're making the
It does.
future some amazing thing, which also isn't true, right? Because you don't get divorced from your spouse and then all of a sudden you got somebody to be with you. Sometimes they do, but you know what I'm saying? It's the thing with alone, right? Now you do got some sleepless nights. Now you do kind of feel like, damn, it's cold over there. You know what I mean? Right? It don't nobody even want to date me. I'm 45 with 3 kids. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's not what you were fantasizing it to be.
Right.
And then the other side of the spectrum, and these are people who stay in marriages often too long because they're fatalizing, right? Oh my
Mm,
God, I'm gonna lose everything. I'm gonna lose my money. Everybody's going to hate me. My kids are going to hate me. Everything is bad. It's just going to be destroyed. It's better that I stay here, at least in this stability, at least in this shit that I recognize because it's warm, right? We get to stay
right.
in this nice neighborhood. So what if, sometimes he slaps me around? What if sometimes he has a girlfriend? You know what I mean? So what?
Wow.
So what if I'm disrespected and I can't be myself? At least it's not this awful thing that's going to happen if I get a divorce.
Y'all, I think I'm looking around because I think she's talking to me. That hurt me. I had to in I had to internalize that, because that I think I feel like she's talking to me, and that's so true. That is so true. And and you see how she went through all those emotions, y'all? Do you see how she went through all those feelings all at once? And she went through all of those feelings and she went through all of those emotions. And it was all her. No one said anything to her. No one came at her and said, hey, you're worthless if you get a divorce. No one said anything. It was all us. We did that to ourselves. To not be able, we did all of that self-talk to ourselves and talked ourselves out of getting a possible life-changing experience.
Mhm.
And we did it all by ourselves. When do you recommend prenuptial agreements? Is there a is there a certain dollar number that I should consider prenuptial agreement? Is there a, if you have a house, car, and a career, now you should start considering a prenuptial agreement? When should someone consider bringing up the conversation of prenuptial agreements, and how do you bring it up, a
Ooh, these
prenuptial
are all
agreement?
good questions. Ooh, so what I will say now is different than what I would have said in the past, right? In the past, but again, I was kind of still judgmental and hadn't been divorced. I would say no, no prenups. It's like planning to be divorced. You're never appropriate, right?
Right, right.
But really, a prenup is like having an estate plan. just in case, and there's no place in your life when you shouldn't have an estate plan. People are like, well, I don't have nothing. You got something. Have an estate plan. Maybe later you will have something, and now at least you've prepared for it and you've planned for it. And so at this point, I would argue that a prenup is like an estate planning document. You should have a will, right? You should have a plan for this kind of stuff. Not that you want to die tragically, but shit happens. You know what I mean? And it's better to have a plan than to be trying to figure it out when it happens. And my attitude would be the same about a prenup. So I would say on some level, they're appropriate for everybody. Prenups they don't have to be a negative thing. Now, I personally haven't really done many. No. So I personally haven't really done many. And I do know that they can work out. So they say if we're married for this amount of time, as long as we're married for, say, 10 years or whatever, then we will divide everything 50-50. They can say that, it doesn't have to say you don't get nothing. It doesn't have to say that. In a situation like I'm in now, like if I were to get married again, and let me change that back, when I get married again.
Amen. Amen.
Okay, because I'm the marrying kind. I'm definitely keeping my name for sure, right? I worked really hard for this Christian family. I've been to all kind of other names, but this one I'm keeping. Yes, and I am building a brand. I'm building a brand that I have been working on, right, for 20 years coming up to when I met this new person. So if I take off during that marriage, how much of it, is his, right? Is he really entitled to half? Does he even really want half? You know what I mean? Like, so what does this look like? You know what I mean? What's my own intellectual property, so to speak? What belongs to me and what doesn't? Another place I find that prenups are pretty big is when one person has some family money, or like a family business. And so the prenup protects the family, interest, because you don't necessarily want a divorce to happen. And now some outsider is breaking up the family business.
Yeah. That's my house. No, that was my mom's house, and she willed it to me. Right. And now, like you said, this outsider has now gone after the family legacy and tried to take claim of that legacy, even though they weren't a part of that tree.
Right.
So you're right. Is there a dollar amount that I should consider if I'm making, $100,000 a year? Should I start considering prenuptial agreements? If I'm making $1 million a year, should I definitely be considering a prenuptial agreement?
So let me say these things. When you get divorced, the court is really looking to divide up what is actually in existence at the time of the divorce. Meaning, money that was spent before during the marriage, people are always trying to go back and recoup that. You can't recoup that money. You drained out your entire retirement to keep up with her spending habits. When it's a decision you made, good, bad, or ugly, you can't now try and make her pay back $50,000. Does this make sense? That money is no longer in existence.
I've seen it.
Okay. Also, there are questions about future earnings, right? Because do those actually exist, right? Like, how much of that can we really divide up and plan on? So with those kind of things in mind, I don't know. If you're, okay, I'll say this, right? Because this is lawyers. We never give direct answers.
That's fine.
I say to people, so like my mom, I'm my mother's only child, right? I'm her only child. When she dies, I get everything.
You're it.
That's it. Whether she has a will or not. When she dies, I get everything. That's the way the law breaks things. That's how it's going to happen, because that's how law works, right?
Right.
My dad, on the other hand, has kind of four daughters. He has four daughters. He has me. He has my little sister, Jada. And then my little sister, Jada, also has two sisters, right, by her mom, who kind of consider my dad to be their dad. Does this make sense?
Right? So you're the senior. You're the oldest.
I'm the oldest, right? Because from my mom. And then he's got one from my little sister's mom. And then her mom also has two other ones. So my dad has two, kinda, four daughters. And he really wants all of us to take when he dies. Without a will, me and Jada will take evenly, but the other two sisters will be left out.
Ouch.
So if you want something different than what would automatically happen, does that make sense? Then it's
Yes.
important to have a plan for how you want it to be. And that's the thing with the prenup. If your thought is, if this thing were to get divorced, everything me and my spouse have, we built together, then what will happen at the end is we'll split everything. And if you're cool with that, then there really is no need for a prenup, regardless of how much you have or how much you don't have. Because that's essentially how it's going to work out. If part of you feels like, nah, that ain't how I want that to go, then you're going to need to write something up different.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all discovered in the conversation, in the workup to the marriage, y'all. What she's talking about is talking about these things and discussing these things and making sure you two are aligned. I want y'all to catch this because this is important. What she is discussing is having these conversations prior to marriage. And if the outcome of that discussion is not aligning, then she is talking about, hey, then you need a prenup because you two are not on the same page. Now, if she's saying, hey, if we do this, if y'all come to terms and y'all realize, hey, I don't care if we walk away, you get half, I get half. If that's the vibe, then you don't need one because it's mutually agreed on between the two of you that you already know we'll get half. You'll get half. I don't care. I don't even want it. I don't like the dog. Then you don't need a prenup. That's what she's talking about.
That is
All
what I
of
said.
this
You
is
know what? Let me jump in there because as I said that, this came to me too. Because I say this
absolutely
about parenting agreements, right? Say you and so right, because everything all links for me, right? If you and the other parent have a thing where you keep the kid for a week and the other parent keeps the kid for a week and that works really, really well and everybody agrees on it, I say write that up like that in case something happens and you change your mind and then you don't agree on it anymore. It was already working. So write it down how it does work, right? And so I guess I'll say that too about this conversation about the prenup, right? Like if we have decided that it's going to be you get half, I get half, then maybe you should write it up because that's what you agree on now before anything changes. You know what I mean? Before she gets two boyfriends.
let's solidify it now before things change. You're right. You're right. People change, hearts change, minds change, kids change. So you're right. You're absolutely right. We are going to take a question from our audience. We had a question earlier. I'm going to see if I can find it here. It was pertaining to the question about having faith and allowing your children and having faith in yourself as a great parent and having faith that the father is coming to you with alcohol in his breath and now you are trusting him to take the kids. And Patience Dean is asking, but if the dad drives with the kids and gets into an accident, couldn't both parents be charged with negligence?
The short answer would be if I was being negligent, say, I know dad has a problem, like a hardcore heavy problem with alcohol. He done crashed several cars in the past. Does this make sense? He got a DUI, this kind of thing. And in my heart, I feel like this nigga probably gonna kill these kids. Excuse me. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
And
right, right, right.
and I still let them go, like against my own conscience. While as much as I'm not sure actually that I will be charged with negligence. I mean, he's still their kids. He came to get them, right? I was following the court order in a lot of cases that says he gets to get his kids. But my conscience probably would never let me live with that, right? Because I knew I consciously put them in harm's way.
Right.
On the other hand, people get in car accidents all the time. They never been drinking. They never been doing nothing. Do you know what I'm saying? So if I trust my child to go with the parent and something bad happens, I didn't do nothing wrong. I didn't do nothing wrong. I follow my conscience. So
right.
I hope that helps.
And Patience Dean, if that doesn't help, please connect with me. Please connect with Christian Family, and she will direct you in the path that you need to go. And I know she will. She's helped so many lives, and she will continue to help so many lives because that's the woman she is. She has another great question that I'm gonna put here on the screen that was kind of unique. She asked, if I have an invention and I got divorced, would those future earnings be split?
Possibly. The short answer is possibly. And so in the state of Ohio, this is the thing that I'll throw in there. In the state of Ohio, there's no such thing as an anti-nuptial agreement. And I'm in Ohio, so I think some other states have this issue. What this means is if you did not come up with some kind of agreement before you got married about how you were going to handle things, you can't be in the marriage and make a decision. Does this make sense? So before we got married, we didn't have a prenup. I didn't have no fancy ideas. I didn't think of nothing, right? Now in the middle of the marriage, I didn't have this brilliant idea. Like, you know what? This is right here, solar cells, whatever. I came up with something genius. And it's my own thought, and I'm in the middle of this marriage with this person. Right. You couldn't come up with a plan then that says, hey, this just belongs to me. So, ouch.
You can't.
Not in the middle of the marriage, at least not in the state of Ohio. There are some states that do allow anti-nuptial agreements, but not here, and not all the states do. So don't assume you'll be able to do that in the middle.
There you go.
So then now the divorce happens, and the invention has not yet taken off. Then I'm going to say no, because what can happen, the only thing that can be divided up at the time of the divorce are things that are actually in existence, right? And arguably the patent to this invention is something that, belongs to you. You could argue that that's not marital property, and you could argue that it doesn't have any value because it's not making any money yet, right? So that would be one thing. If I got the invention, I'd have made it on my own, and now it's making good money. And with this good money, I've upgraded the standard of living of our family, right? We got a better house, we got a better car, we're taking better trips, and now it's time for my divorce. He wouldn't necessarily be entitled to future earnings per se, but is he entitled to some kind of a property division? Is he entitled to some kind of spousal support, or people know as alimony? Because you're making more money. He's gotten accustomed to living like that. So that's kind of the answer on that is kind of yeah. He's entitled to. He will get some of it. It's kind of yeah. He will get some of it, and it's a chance we take, right? Because you're not going to not have a great idea for fear that the spouse might get some of it. You're not going to not do it, and you didn't get married in hopes that you were going to get a divorce. So some of it's just the chance you gotta take. 2 examples I can give you. I had one couple married for long run, like well over 20 years, maybe close to 30 years.
Wow.
Over the course of the marriage, and a couple of business partners managed to own a chain of grocery stores. So he and 2 partners own a chain of grocery stores. Book value, I don't know, a couple $1 million, not like super expensive, but like the book value, some value here, belongs to him and these 2 partners. The wife, of course, had never done anything in any of these grocery stores, but been a cashier. And she had been his wife the entire 30 years they were building the grocery store. What was she entitled to?
The cash
she was entitled to half of his interest.
What?
His interest. He's entitled. He owns 1/3 of this grocery store chain, and she's entitled to half of his 1/3. They was married for 30 years. He wouldn't have been able to do all of that conceptually without her.
Wow.
Right. And the same thing, like yeah.
Wow. Y'all please reach out to Miss Christian Family Esquire. Please like, share, and subscribe to this. This needs to get out. She needs to get out. We need to spread the word on this because this is big. This is huge, y'all. And I didn't know that. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend to you like, oh yeah, I knew that. I didn't know none of this, y'all. I didn't know none of this even before I had her on the show. Please get this out. What 3 books would you recommend that every man or woman should read?
The first one is The 4 Agreements. And I should be able to tell you the guy who wrote it, but I can't. It's Miguel or something. But The 4 Agreements is a relatively quick read.
That's fine. We got Google.
Over and over again, right? So for sure, no question about it, The 4 Agreements, right? I've recently been reading How to influence. Right, that's how to make friends and influence people.
Yes.
Dale Carnegie.
Yes.
Listen,
Yes.
listen. Read this book. Read this book. I mean it. Like, read this book. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, it make the way I think about things, the way I interact with people, the way I'm having conversations now. It's just like,
I love
Dale
that book.
Carnegie was on that. He knew what he was talking about. He knew what he was talking about.
I love
So
that book.
those two for sure. And let me think. What's another book that I go back to? Oh,
Your book?
Think and Grow Rich. What can I say? All of my books are self help related. I'm trying to make $1 million or three. You know what I'm saying? So yeah,
Think and
these
Grow
are books
Rich.
I read.
Think and Grow Rich. I have not. I am sorry, y'all. If I'm looking down, it's because I'm taking notes. I take notes to learn, to grow, and to develop. So I'm sorry. Forgive me if I'm looking down, but I am writing this down. Um, who are your heroes and why?
My number one hero is Oprah Winfrey.
Oprah,
Oprah,
the
because they
woman
won't
herself.
put her in a box. You know, she's a black woman. She was born poor. She ain't no size 6. She was a news anchor. Like she was a weather girl or some shit. Like this is who she
Yeah,
was. And that doesn't define her and all she could do and just like limitless. Do you know what I mean? Like without bounds. You're not gonna put Oprah in a box. And you're not gonna put me in a box. So yeah, that's she is my hero. She is unapologetically herself. She is always growing herself and evolving herself. You know what I mean? Reading different books and trying to do different things. To me, she's always been overtly black without being
apologetic.
apologetic. Thank you. You know what I mean? She's unapologetically black. That's not a thing. And so yeah, Oprah.
She gonna walk in the room. It's funny you said that because she has. I was watching a video of her. She was speaking on racism. So that is just perfect timing that you said Oprah is your hero. She was speaking about racism and how she was in Italy, and she has the Oprah show. She has the Oprah network, and she's in Italy, and they didn't know her over there. So she is in a Louis Vuitton store, and she's buying a Louis Vuitton bag, not for herself, but for this young woman who's about to go off to school in a foreign country, and she wants to give this girl this gift of a Louis Vuitton bag. So when she goes to school as a great job, I'm proud of you gift. This is Oprah, y'all. Mm-hmm. And the person in the Louis Vuitton store, the sales clerk, doesn't know who she is. And so he's assuming that Oprah can't afford the Louis Vuitton bag. Right. And he's telling her that this bag, you don't want this bag. You can't get this bag. This bag is for Italians only. You can't get this bag. And he does not know who she is. And so, long story short, Oprah gets the bag, right? Because it required Oprah to call the manager of the store. And when the manager got involved, he knew who she was. And all of a sudden, this man who was saying to her, you can't afford this bag, you can't have this bag, he comes out with champagne and bottles, and he's whining and dining someone he assumed couldn't have this thing. And Oprah was relentless in the pursuit of that bag. She was not going to let this girl go off to college without the bag. And all it took was one phone call. Mm-hmm. So, wow. Yeah. How do you give back to the community? How do you give back to others?
So the main thing actually that I've been very active in lately is emotional intelligence, leadership training. There are centers throughout the country. I'm active with the Next Level Trainings. They have a center in Columbus and in Philadelphia. And in transformation, so I study transformation as a student and I study transformation as a coach. And so I go back and I help regularly other people on a volunteer basis to get their own transformations, to get their own breakthroughs, their own mindset shifts. And so I'm very active in that community. The other thing I do are my workshops, which I'm going to put back on. And so I guess I can plug me because I kind of got something going on, but not really. My website is divorcexn.com. Like XN is kind of a play on Christian and prescription, right? xn.com. It's a little janky right now, but you can see a couple of my videos on there and what's going on. And I'm building a private Facebook group that's thinking about divorce for people who are thinking about divorce. So the assumption is this is a group for people actively married, you know what I mean? Like you're married, right? You're still living with your spouse, like you're married. And you're thinking about divorce. So you haven't filed papers yet. You haven't necessarily moved out yet. You're just, thinking about divorce. You're in this place. I understand that place. And there isn't really a safe place for people to go and talk about those feelings. Because if you talk to some people, they're going to be like, oh, no, you get to work on your marriage. You got to do all this, and that's not necessarily the answer. And then there are occasionally some people that's too quick to say, girl, just get a divorce then. Man, just leave that broad,
Right.
Come to thinking about divorce. I'm creating a safe space there. So there's that, which I do, right? That's for free. And then my co-parenting tools to make it work. Be on the lookout. I will be announcing that pretty soon. It's a 2-hour long workshop. It's free. And it has saved people thousands of dollars in legal fees just by coming to listen to me and listen to my real life advice on what you can do to avoid having to be in a drawn out legal battle.
Perfect. You cheated. That was my next question. How can my audience contact you? What is the best way to reach out to you? How can they get in touch with you outside of this? Outside of this.
That's it. And I'm on all the social medias, kinda, right? So there's Facebook. I think I'm Divorce XN on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. It's a little harder. I'm Christian Family Esquire, but Christian Family is XNFMLYESQ. But yeah, follow me on social media. See what I'm up to. See what I'm talking about. I do check my messenger. I check my messages on LinkedIn. I'm still doing research interviews for all intents and purposes where people who are thinking about divorce and having these kind of questions, if you're willing to talk with me and let me record it for my own research purposes, I'll talk to you one-on-one about, I'll talk to you one-on-one about your situation. To be clear, these are not legal consultations because, right, I'm not practicing right now. I'm not trying to hire you to be a lawyer. Not even necessarily giving legal advice, because my message is that only a small part of the divorce is the legal part. So let me help you get ready with all the stuff that you need to do so that when you're ready to move into the legal process, you have the tools that you need.
Wow. I told y'all doubted me. Y'all didn't believe me. This woman was powerful. Didn't I told you this woman was powerful? I told y'all. And so, Miss Christian Family, I want to say thank you on behalf of me, myself, my audience, and future legacies, future families that need you and are going to tune into this. I want to say thank you from the bottom to the top of my heart. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for giving back, and thank you for sharing this insightful wisdom that you have so graciously bestowed upon us, and taking the time out of your busy schedule and your busy lifestyle to be on here. And I want to say thank you. Thank you so much. You're incredible.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And so, guys, all podcasts, I hope this was powerful. I hope this served you the way I definitely served me, and this definitely helped me. I want to say thank you to all my subscribers, all my listeners tuning in, and for future tuning in as you catch the replay. This is Marcus Norman on Gentleman Style Podcast and Miss Christian Family Esquire. Want to say thank you, signing off, and always take care of your families, take care of your business, and take care of your life, because without this life, without you, there is no legacy. You are here for a specific reason. You are here for a purpose. Live that purpose always, in marriage and outside of marriage. Thank you all. We love you. Take care. Bye-bye. Boom.